Welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Nguyen. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. And today I kind of want to talk about the evolution that I've gone through, the ups and downs that I've gone through throughout my whole career, specifically talking to my real estate career and my W-2 career. So for those of you new to the journey, I started as a pharmacist back in 2013. And basically I came out with $250,000 of student debt. And basically I was making about $120,000, which is kind of like your typical pharmacist salary back then in 2013. And, basically had a lot of debt, had a good W-2 job, but I knew nothing about money. My parents didn't really teach me much about money. They didn't teach me much about investing. They didn't teach me much about real estate. All they taught me was to save money and to pay off my student debt. And because of that, I was naturally a saver in terms of wanting to save money. And naturally very frugal, very humble, not too materialistic. So thanks to my parents, that's the advantages that I kind of was inherited and instilled upon me. But other than that, they just said, okay, max out your 401k, which, was roughly around, I think, close to $20,000 at the time, a little bit less probably, and basically save money and then, buy a house and eventually pay off that house. Like that was really it. Parents didn't own rental properties. So basically that's the advice that I followed for, the past, I would say 4 years from 2013 all the way to 2017. I basically maxed out my 401k. I think my first job didn't even have a 401k, so it was my second job when I worked for Santa Clara County. That's when I had a 401k or a 403b, and I would max that out every year. And I would save money, live humbly, and just worked on paying my student loans, right? So in this 4-year window, I basically paid off $250,000 of student debt and basically maxed out my 401k and, blinked my eyes, put my head down, worked hard, looked up, and had roughly a, close, I think, to like $300,000 to $400,000 net worth at that point, right? So I went from negative $250,000 student debt all the way up to a net worth of, it was $200,000 positive because I maxed out my 401k over 4 years. So it's roughly $8,000, and roughly it doubled because the stock market did well, right? So, that was kind of my net worth. And then on top of that, that's when I became my first pharmacy director job in 2017. And, this is when you get paid closer to like, $200,000. I think my offers are $180,000, back in 2017. And, that's when I started really increasing my W-2 income. I think at my W-2 job at the time as a pharmacist at the county, I was making about maybe 160, 170K. So it was a slight bump up, but for me, it was more about learning and having the opportunity to develop myself. So basically became a director, and, at this time I bought my first single family home as well. So this is when I kind of had my first inflection point of massive growth. Like my W-2 job was growing significantly, and then finally I owned a single family home, which I house hacked, right? So I was doing two things simultaneously to better myself in all aspects of life, right? And this is improving myself in W-2, improving myself in real estate, and, I lived in the master bedroom and rented out the 3 other bedrooms in the Bay Area, California. That reduced my living expense significantly. Taught me to be a landlord, and then that's when I basically got my feet wet with real estate. So at that point, I basically learned to be a landlord and said, this is interesting. Like, it's not as hard as I thought it would be. Dealing with tenants is annoying. There's inconveniences, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. And once you get that taste of it, like you say, all right, I'll keep on doing this. So, save money up again. Then I bought a second single family home, which I house hacked, and rent out the last house. And I did that again and again and again. Right. And then all of a sudden I said, okay, well, basically at the time when I was like, I think like 30, got a girlfriend. That's when I relocated to Southern California, which is where I'm at now. And this is kind of when I experienced the most growth in terms of my wealth, but also the most turbulence in terms of like my W-2 job and my personal life. So, for example, when I moved to SoCal in 2020 during the heart of COVID, I had, about 7 years of pharmacy experience. Maybe 3 of which I was a leadership position. And, I got a job in Orange County, California. And it was a really easy job. I was like, this is great. I was really tired. I was really burnt out from, going through some, family health issues, going through that, navigating that, as well as COVID, and then, just wanting a fresh slate, clean template, new environment. So it was very nice for me. And that's when I started to grow exponentially, right? And in terms of wealth, this is when I started learning about out of state investing. So, I bought a single family home in Alabama. I bought apartment complexes in Oklahoma, and I had a mobile home park in Alabama as well. So this is when I thought it was possible to buy out of state, because I was always instilled upon me that you have to buy in your backyard. In my backyard, it's California, it's expensive, right? And I did buy a lot in my backyard, which has been great. But, it's not scalable over time, right? I mean, the equity's done great, don't get me wrong. Like, each of my single family homes appreciate like crazy, but it's not sustainable in terms of like a cash flow perspective, right? Because most of your California real estate, single family homes, they're not going to be cash flow positive, right? At best, you're break even or be slightly negative, right? So that's when I did remote real estate investing. And that's when I started learning about real estate, basically investing, financial freedom, retirement, and simultaneously, ironically, that's when I was starting to get laid off the most, right? Like during COVID, the hospital I was at in Orange County, they're for profit. They weren't making money because no one was going to the ED or the ER, emergency room. People are too afraid to go there. So, that's the main hospital revenue system is ED visits. So that went down. And then also the elective surgeries. So like your non-urgent surgical procedures, we call them like same day surgeries or elective procedures, were all canceled. And that's how hospital makes money. So basically the hospital laid off like 10% of the staff, and I was one of them, right? Being in middle management. So for me, that was very eye-opening. It was very shocking to me because I put my whole identity into being a pharmacist, into being a pharmacy leader, into bettering myself in my W-2. And, I had every certification possible. I did everything I could. And despite that, it didn't matter. I was middle management. They need middle management. I got chopped off, right? So was laid off. And that's when my disgust of the W-2, and I started to really hate my W-2 job. And that's when I really deep dived into like real estate investing, like more seriously, right? Specifically doing apartments. So I got laid off February of 2021. So just for a timeline, I joined a multifamily mentorship in January 2021. I got laid off in end of February 2021. And then basically I got my other job in April of 2021, and I bought my first piece of real estate and started sending out letters from March of 2021 all the way up into June of 2021. And that's when I got my 26 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma using direct mail. And then shortly after that, I bought my mobile home park in November of 2021, and I got my 20 unit through mailers in May of 2022. So during this window where I got laid off, literally, it flipped my mindset completely. Removed my identity as being a pharmacist. I still work today, and I appreciate my job if you see my videos, but I removed that identity. So now my identity is kind of this weird fusion where I'm a real estate investor and a pharmacist, right? So at first I was too into being a pharmacist. And then once I got laid off, that identity was shattered. And then because of that disdain and being laid off and left a sour taste in my mouth, I pivoted all the way towards real estate, and I hated my W-2 and just went all the way to real estate. But then that got shattered, right? My identity as a real estate investor got shattered once my mobile home park didn't go as expected, and it was stressful, right? So now I'm somewhere in the middle, right? The truth is always somewhere in the middle, right? You're never either too left or too right. It's always somewhere in the middle. So before I was too much W-2, right? And this is where a lot of people are. You're just so into your W-2, it's your identity. And then that got shattered when I got laid off. So I went way over here. Real estate investor, hating my W-2, want to retire early. But that got shattered once I realized how hard real estate investing was. And I got slapped in the face of my mobile home park with renovating my apartments. And, once I owned, 52 units of real estate, 90 at one point, realized the reality of it. It made me appreciate my W-2 more. Now I'm in the middle where I do both, right? Now I do my W-2 and real estate. And on top of that, now I'm trying to build my social media presence with YouTube, right? So the truth's always somewhere in the middle, right? So now with social media, I'm trying to balance all three, right? I got my W-2, I got my real estate, and I got my social media, all in the middle now, right? So, and I went through a lot of ups and downs, right? Like it was really hard. I went through a period of probably depression, but these hard times is what shapes you. These hard times is what gives you clarity in life. These hard times is what shows you what you're made of when you're at rock bottom. And, relatively speaking, it's not that rock bottom, right? Like, I was never homeless. I had food, I had shelter, right? Or worst case, even if I did had none of that, I could have just lived at home, right? So I'm very privileged in that aspect. And so rock bottom, like at least mentally, but big picture, yeah, I was still okay, right? Like if you think of it that way, it was nothing big picture wise. But in terms of like hitting rock bottom in my W-2, hitting rock bottom in real estate, and getting clarity from that, and then having a more sustainable lifestyle, right? Like now I can sustain my W-2, I can sustain my real estate, and now I can sustain social media on top of that. So hopefully this gave you some insight as to kind of the ups and downs of my life, in terms of my W-2, in terms of my real estate investing, and hopefully this gives you more transparency, more insight as to what's really like to own this much real estate while working a full-time W-2. That's what I try to do with my channel. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions down below. Please share this video with somebody who can benefit from this. And please like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.